بسم الله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. اللهم أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه. Jazakum for attending. I'm not altogether sure what the plan is for today, so I'm just going to try to do a little 25-30 minute talk, inshallah. We'll have 5 minutes questions and answers or comments or contributions from anyone who wants to contribute anything, and then I'm not sure what the rest of the program is, inshallah. Okay, so today's talk is being entitled Tawakkul ala Allah. The title which I wanted was Hardship, the Great Hope. For those who have heard it already today, I apologise. But this will be a bit more than what you heard earlier, inshallah. Hardship, the Great Hope. Hardship, the great, just take a minute just to think about that, what it actually means. Hardship, difficulty. When it seems like all the odds are against you, when you're some bunch of school kids playing against Real Madrid or Barcelona on a full pitch. So think about it in that context, maybe not necessarily a footballing context, but something like that in which the odds are against you. And it's for most people that would be a time for despair. It would be a time to lose hope. It would be a time to want to give up. Sorry, can I just ask you, I know it's uncomfortable to talk, but can I just ask you to come here because it's not going to have to bend my neck back. Thank you, Alfred. There's a bit of wall over there. It's really cute. And I want to start off, inshallah, with verse number 40 from Surah At-Tawbah, in which Allah Azza wa says after أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم إلا تنصروه فقد نصره الله إذ أخرجه الذين كفروا ثاني اثنين إذ هما في الغار إذ يقول لصاحبه لا تحزن إن الله معنا. And this is Allah Azza wa Jalla speaking to the Muslims. This is let's quickly set the scene. So the Muslims have gone through 13 years of persecution in which city? In Mecca. 13 years of persecution in Mecca. And it reached a point in which they were totally cut off from everybody. No one would sell them anything, no one would give them anything, no one would buy anything from them, and they were even kicked out to the outskirts of Mecca, and it got to a point people were dying from starvation. People were finding the skin of camels and trying to soften it and chew on it to get some form of sustenance, some sort of nourishment. And they'd find, just any bits of grass, anything, not for the animals to eat, but for they themselves to eat. Because, sorry. He's enjoying Tom and Jerry. Okay, so they're in a very precarious situation, and then, alhamdulillah, that came to an end when the insects went ate the pact, the agreement that was made by Quraysh against the people of the Muslims and their family, and then afterwards, alhamdulillah, that then came to an end. But Abu Jahl and others were still adamant that we need to get rid of this message. We need to get rid of this religion. This religion is questioning our core beliefs. And the issue isn't necessarily their core beliefs. It's a mixture of, this is what we know, this is what our forefathers used to worship, so this is what we're going to worship. But also, more importantly for them, those in power, those in control, needed the status quo to remain as it is, so that they can remain in control and remain in power. I was listening to something interesting. It was speaking about I don't know which country they're speaking about. You could apply it to this country, in which he says that what those in power do, and it's not just honestly, you can apply it to almost any country. What those in power do is that they try to pin different sections within society against each other and create an illusion of a feud between them, so that they're preoccupied with this fictitious feud and therefore ignore what's going on and what's really impacting their lives. And this is really important for those in control. This is really important for Abu Jahl. Otherwise, people see what he's doing, that he's actually taking a lot of the wealth for himself and for his cronies. It's not getting distributed equally, and there's no justice in that, and this is what Islam came to address. So even though the pact, that agreement of the boycott of the family of the Prophet ﷺ came to an end, Abu Jahl wasn't happy about it. He even says, "This is, you conspired this at night. This was something that's good." So he wasn't happy with it. And he was adamant that they needed to get rid of Islam. They needed to get rid of the message of the Prophet ﷺ. And they carried on for a further it was 2 to 3 years, until it got to a point in which they decided, let's kill them. The Prophet ﷺ had taken the decision that Khalas, it was too dangerous, and he told the companions to all flee Mecca. And he told them to go to where? Medina. In Medina, Mus'ab bin Umayr had already gone there and had been there for 2 or 3 years. And you had, the Bay'at al-Aqba, the Ula, and then Bay'at al-Nisa, the second one. And the second was like 70 people who gave Bay'at to the Prophet from Medina. And then the rest of Medina, almost the majority of Medina, accepted Islam. And the Muslims now had a new home that they could go to, so they went to it. And then after the Prophet was satisfied that everyone had managed to escape safely, then he planned his own escape with his best friend. What's his best friend's name? Best friend of the Prophet Abu Bakr Siddiq. So with Abu Bakr Siddiq, those two left and left Ali behind. And when they left, now from Mecca, Medina, in which direction on the compass do you go? We're looking at a map. Most of us here in Jalan know how to read the map. We all know north, south, east and west. Sorry, north, east, south and west. So from Mecca, which direction is Medina? Pardon?
Northeast.
Almost. The first part of your answer is correct. North. So Medina is north from Mecca. Which direction did the Prophet ﷺ travel in when he left Mecca? North? South. Correct, yeah, he went south. And he done this to lose the trail, to fool the people who were coming, because he was wanted. And on that morning, they'd actually had assassins ready, or people from the tribe, young people from the tribe ready, with their spears and their swords to kill him. And subhanAllah, Allah saved him and he got out. When they discovered what had happened and that Ali was in the bed instead of him, Abu Jahl lost the plot, he got angry, and he said, "We have to go and find him. And he's wanted, and I'm placing a bounty on his head. Anyone that brings him to me will have 100 camels, dead or alive. Wanted dead or alive for 100 camels." Now, previously I used to compare 100 camels to 100 Ferraris or Bugattis. But it's better than a Ferrari or a Bugatti. A Ferrari or a Bugatti, with every year, will lose value. And we'll come to a point in which the engine's dead and that's it, it's finished. What Ferraris and Bugattis don't do, which is what camels do, is they give birth. They create. And that 100, after 10 years, will become, 160, 180, 200, 300, lower. But the point is that it increases. So it's a massive... It's a massive incentive for anybody. So everybody in Mecca thought, "I want a piece of this." And they left. And you had the best huntsmen going out to find the Prophet ﷺ, including a certain individual, Suraqa ibn Malik. Suraqa ibn Malik was a man who was learned in the ways of the desert. And he was a hunter. And it was said that he could simply look at the excrement of an animal, and just by looking at it, he will know how long ago the animal was here. how long ago the animal was here, if it's fresh or not, and how fresh it was. So I mean, this guy was a master. And he was the first person who managed to suss out that the Prophet ﷺ had gone south, not north. Had gone south. So he followed them, and he was hot on the heels of the Prophet ﷺ until he saw him. And as he was getting closer to him, the sand, Allah Azza wa Jalla had ordered it to open and loosen up, and the horse started to sink into the sand. Suraqa got off and he pulled the horse away, and he tried to free it, and he managed to free it, and then he went back again, and again it happened. And he's thinking, this isn't right, there's something, this is not normal. This is the guy that knows the desert. And he knows this is not normal. It's not quicksand, it's not Africa, it's not, you know, the Amazon. This is the Sahara Desert. There is no quicksand there. So he tried to get, and it kept sinking. And then eventually he just said, this is only from Allah Azza wa Jalla. And he told the Prophet, look, you're safe from me. And he told him, and then he became a Muslim. And he said to the Prophet, and then the Prophet said to him, yes, Suraqa, what do you think of that day when you will be wearing the bracelets of Qisra and you will be victorious over Persia, walking on their land? Listen to these words, yeah? What do you think? Now, the Prophet ﷺ is on the run. I don't know if any of you here have seen a bit of a lame example, but I'm going to give it anyway, because it comes to mind. Prison Break, season 2. When he's on the run. And when you're on the run, you're hiding and you're scared. And you saw it throughout. He was scared. He was scared that any time he can get captured. So you're there on the run. And this guy is hot on your tails. And he's going to get the rest of Quraysh. But all of a sudden he's given up. But you know that the rest of Quraysh will be following behind him. And instead of thinking, thank God for that, let me go hide quickly. No, he's saying what does Allah say to him? What do you think of the day where you will have the bracelets of Qisra, and you will be victorious over Persia, walking on their land? SubhanAllah. You're about to be defeated, and yet you're talking about big, ambitious goals. Something which no Arab had ever previously considered. This is beyond them. We're talking about, Persia at the time was a superpower. Persia at the time was one of 3 superpowers, but in the top 2. You had who was the other main superpower? Pardon? The Romans, yes. The other main superpower was the Romans. And then there was a lesser power. So, I'm going, SubhanAllah. Now I know I'm getting older, I'm talking to a group of people who don't know what the Soviet Union was. So back in the day, Russia used to be a superpower as well, a long time ago. You'll read about it in history. So it used to be America and Russia were the 2 big superpowers. But then you've got lesser powers. You've got your Germanys and your France and your Britains. And on that level there was Yemen. I should be telling you this now, but it will become apparent as to why I told you that. So Yemen was on that lesser. It's not a big superpower, but it's a major player. I'll come back to that later, inshallah. A different story. And Suraqa was obviously very happy about this, and he says to the Prophet, what do you want me to do? He says, just get rid of these people for us. Just get rid of these people for us. And then the Prophet, he goes into Ghar Thawr, south of Mecca, and he hides in the cave as the people of the caravan of Quraysh came. So the hunters of Quraysh came, and Suraqa saw them, and he said, and they came up to the foot of the mount, the cave, and Suraqa managed to get rid of the majority of because I think they've gone in that direction. And they knew how good he is in the desert, and they weren't going to question him. If he says Suraqa's they've gone that way, then they've gone that way. End of. And then this is when, this verse which I just read now, I'll give you a translation of it, inshallah. And Allah is talking to the people when they were no longer sure about whether or not to support the Prophet ﷺ, and he says, and if you did not aid the Prophet, so he's telling them, when you didn't aid the Prophet ﷺ, Allah has already aided him. When those who disbelieved had driven him out of Mecca as one of 2, him and Abu Bakr Siddiq, when they were in the cave, and he said to his companions, so the Prophet ﷺ says to Abu Bakr Siddiq, do not grieve, do not be upset. indeed Allah is with us. And Abu Bakr Siddiq, he wasn't upset for himself, he wasn't scared for himself. He was upset for the Prophet ﷺ, he was upset for the da'wah. You know, Abu Bakr had already surrendered, he already accepted that I'm going to give my life to this cause. That's done, that's dusted, that's no longer in question. But what he was worried about was the Prophet ﷺ, and he loved the Prophet ﷺ. There was another story, I'll quickly mention it. When the Muslims was captured by Quraysh, and they were beating him, they were whipping him, and they were punching him, kicking him, done everything. And they said to him, would you not rather that Muhammad was here in your place and that you were at home amongst your family, comfortable? And he said, well, by Allah, I wouldn't want to be amongst my family comfortable, knowing that even a thorn may prick the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So this is just to give you an idea as to, because people use this against Abu Bakr Siddiq, that his faith wasn't all that, so on and so forth. So just to dispel those myths, inshallah, those lies, inshallah. So he was worried about the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, not worried for himself. And he says, do not grieve, do not worry, for indeed Allah is with us. And Allah sent down His tranquility upon him and supported him with angels. You did not see them, and made the word of those who disbelieved the lowest, whilst the word of Allah the highest, and Allah is exalted and high, exalted in might and wise. So, time of despair, time of hardship, is the time of hope. There was a man during the time of, before the time of Islam. His name was Antar bin Shaddad, famous poet, famous warrior. He used to be a slave, and I'm digressing, but it's a nice little story. Little snippets of it. So he fought for his tribe many times. His mother was a slave, but his father was the master of the tribe, was the leader of the tribe. But because his mother was a slave, and he too was a slave. That's how it worked. So they were about to be attacked by another tribe, and he's fought many times. And he always saved the tribe of his master. And they were about to get attacked by a really strong tribe, and his master said to him, we need you to fight with us. And he thought about it, he goes, well, what's the point? What am I going to fight for? He goes, if we're victorious, if we lose the battle, then I'm going to be one of their slaves. If we win the battle, I'm just going to be one of your slaves. I'm a slave. So his master stroke father said to him, pull your weight, come fight with us, and you'll be a free man. And he fought, and his tribe were victorious, and his father, master, kept his word, and he was freed after that. He was a free man after that. And word got around, and he became this massive mythical, legendary figure within Arabia, and people heard so much about him. And then one day this guy approached him. He went sought him out, went and travelled to find him. And he says, you're Antar bin Shaddad. He goes, I am. He goes, I hear so much about you. You're this, you're that, so on and so forth, and you're this big, massive, legendary figure. What is it about you that makes you this? And he goes, I want to challenge you. He goes, okay, I'll tell you what. You want a challenge? This is the challenge. I'll give you my thumb. You give me your thumb, and we bite on each other's thumbs. It's a bit weird, isn't it? Bite on someone's thumb. We bite on each other's thumbs. Let's see who the first person who gives up is. So they got each other's thumbs, and they bit on each other's thumbs, biting hard. So they're both two grown men with their beards, biting each other's thumbs. And they bit, and some time passed, and they're both in pain. And then, not Antar, but the other guy, he gave up. He let go of Antar's, released Antar's thumb. He said, give up, release my thumb. So Antar released him, and Antar said to him, I too wanted to give up and was about to give up. And then he says, and these words are famous, he says, truly victory is a moment's patience. Victory is a moment's patience. It's at that moment there, when Antar just couldn't take it no more, and he just said, let me just hold on. I have hope I'm going to win this. He had hope he's going to win this, right at the very death. He said, let me just, a few more seconds. And in those few more seconds, when he thought that was it, he's about to give up, the other guy gave up just before he did. It's at that time of difficulty is when we find hope. The time of difficulty is when we find hope. Fast forward, 8 years later, during the time after the story of Suraqa, it's interesting to mention Salah because only last week was our New Year, the Islamic New Year, so it was the Advent. So it was 1,439 years ago, and a week and a few days when that story happens. It's nice when you can give dates like that. Anyway, so we fast forward 8 years, inshallah, and it was the battle of 8 years, the battle of Khandaq. It was the 8th year of Hijrah, 7th year of Hijrah. Someone correct me. 7th or the 8th, inshallah. Or if someone can Google it for me, that'd be great. And we had all the tribes, the Kuffar tribes of the Arabian Peninsula converging upon Medina for no reason but to eradicate the Muslims, to eliminate the Muslims, to kill the Muslims. So we're no longer talking about the Kuffar of Mecca alone. We're talking about all Arab tribes from all around had come onto Medina and had sieged Medina. And as they were on the way, they heard, the Muslims heard about this, and it was difficult. So they've got 2 mountains on either side of them, but they're still exposed. And this is when Salman al-Farsi came with the plan of building the what? The trench. Okay. So the Prophet ﷺ, he drew a line in the sand and he said to the companions, dig the trench along this line. So they started digging the trench along the line. And they're digging, and then all of a sudden, they came up against the rock, and this rock wouldn't move. So then they got into a debate, what are we going to do? And they said, let's just go around it, because no, the Prophet told us, this is the line. If you go around it, we're leaving the line. So they weren't sure what to do, so they said, you know what, let's go ask the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So they went and asked the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And the Prophet ﷺ, he said to them, give me the pickaxe. So he took the pickaxe off them, and he jumped into the trench, and he says, Bismillah, Allahu Akbar, and he went and he swung at it. He swung at it, he struck it, and a spark came out. And you sometimes see this, you know, when metal hits a rock, and sometimes even when a rock hits a rock, you'll see a spark come out. And a spark came out, and he looked at the spark, and he said, the Prophet said, Allahu Akbar, I've been given the keys to Asham, and I can see the red castles in Syria. I've been given the keys to Asham and the red castles in Syria. So Syria was part of which empire at the time? Not the Persian, no. Huh? Rome, yes, the Roman Empire. Sham was part of the Byzantine, the Roman Empire. So let's retract a quick second. All of Arabia has come against this one time, against Medina. They've all come together, conspired with each other, come together to attack Medina, the one town, the only Muslim town that there is. And, I mean, logically, you're looking at certain death, you're looking at certain defeat. No doubt. And at that moment there, the Prophet ﷺ isn't talking about we're going to eventually win this battle, we're going to eventually see this siege out, we're going to eventually take over Arabia. No, he's talking about taking over Bilad al-Sham from the Romans. A superpower. You're going to take land from a superpower. At this time of what should be despair, this time of difficulty. And a portion of that rock crumbled with that strike. And the Prophet ﷺ swung it again, smashed it, Bismillah Allahu Akbar, smashed it again. And then he says, a spark came out and he says, I see the keys of Faris, and I see the pillars of Madain. I see the white pillars of Madain. And this is in the Ctesiphon, which was the capital of Iran. And to this day, these white pillars are still there. This is something that, I mean, it's quite a feat. It's been there for centuries, subhanAllah. And they're still there today. And the Prophet is talking about seeing this now. He's finished with one superpower, now he's talking about a second superpower. You're going to take over this land as well next. And some more of that rock crumbled, and then he swung a third time, Bismillah, Allahu Akbar, and then he says, I've been given Mafatih al-Yaman. You're given the keys to Yemen, and I see the doors of Sana'a, and the rock was destroyed. So inshallah, I know we've got a few Yemenis in here, they'll be buzzing like that. So the superpowers to the north of you, and the you know, they're not the Premier, but say the first division power to the south of you, and you're talking about, we're not only going to deal with all these tribes and all these cities that are around us in this area. No, we're going to go and take over countries as well, north and south of us. North and south of us. Time of despair is a time of hope. Allah Azza says in the Quran, وَلَا تَيْأَسُوا مِنْ رُوحِ اللَّهِ إِنَّهُ لَا يَيْأَسُ مِنْ رُوحِ اللَّهِ إِلَّا الْقَوْمَ الْكَافِرِينَ. And never despair in the relief of Allah, for only the disbelievers will despair in the relief from Allah Azza wa Jal. And these are the words of Yaqub alayhi salam to his sons when he sent them to go and look for Yusuf alayhi salam. We thought Yusuf was dead, he's gone, that's it. But here's another story in which a father has lost his child, but he still has faith in Allah Azza wa Jal that child will come back. There's a hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, sorry, hadith Qudsi, أنا عند حسن ظن عبدي بي, أنا عند حسن ظن عبدي بي. I am as my slave assumes of me. I am as my slave assumes of me. So when you're facing difficulty and hardship, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was talking about Sham. The Prophet sallallahu was talking about Faris. He was talking about Yemen. This is the hope that he had in Allah Azza wa Jal. When you're facing difficulty, our hope should always be solid in Allah Azza wa Jal. In this world there are causes and effects. And logically speaking, through cause and effect, when you have an army of 3,000, they're going to beat an army of 1,000. But cause and effect are from the creation of Allah Azza wa Jal. And He is the Lord of cause and effect, and He can change the effects regardless of what the cause is. And this is why our faith should always be firm in Allah Azza wa Jal. There's the story of Shaykh Zainab al-Ghazali rahimahullah. And in her book, Return of the Pharaohs, well, I really advise that you read this book, inshallah. Phenomenal book, a phenomenal lady, and a true inspiration from something that only happened, just the previous century got. And she, and most of you were born at the same time that she was still alive. And she was in the prisons of Jamal Abdel Nasser, and she was getting tortured. And Jamal Abdel Nasser's prisons are, they discussed it. I saw a video made by an organisation on the types of abuses that the people in the Egyptian prisons used to face. And we're talking about, they'll pull your nails from your fingers right off. They would tie your feet to the bottom of the bed and use these pieces of rubber, long pieces of rubber, like truncheon made of rubber, and just beat you on the sole of your feet. They'd make you, they'd hang you in stress positions. They would put you into very, very cold water and then pull you back out again. They would throw you into water with your hand tied, so you're struggling to keep afloat so you can breathe, so you're going, you're having a sensation of drowning, but you're not having, you are literally drowning. You are drowning. And it makes a human being in panic. And they would release dogs in you, and Shaykh Zainab al-Ghazali, rahimahullah, she mentions some of these things that we're going through to her. And then, after they finished the torture, including dogs, after they finished what they would do with her and they left her, she used to thank Allah Azza wa Jal that He has chosen her for this test, because the hadith of Prophet ﷺ, إِذَا حَبَّ اللَّهُ عَبْدًا ابْتَلَاهُ, if Allah Azza wa Jal loves a slave, then Allah Azza will test that slave. And she was being tested, and she appreciated that, subhanAllah. I know I couldn't. And I ask Allah Azza wa Jalla, we ask Allah Azza that He saves us all from ever facing anything like that. And I even remember a few years ago, there's a few brothers that were getting arrested, and they hadn't done anything wrong. They hadn't done anything wrong, and for me, it was testimony of Allah Azza's love for these individuals. And naturally, you worry for yourself. You worry that it might be your turn at any time. And I used to beg Allah Azza wa Jalla that I'm not tested the way they're tested, because it's difficult. But these people were tested, and during their test, they still had hope in Allah Azza wa Jalla. If we are ever tested, we ask Allah Azza that we are inshallah strong and that we're firm. But these brothers were firm. And going back to Sheikh Zainab, and there's also the story of Abu Bakr from Birmingham, who was locked up. With Sheikh Zainab, she saw herself, and I might get the story slightly confusing, it was many years ago that I read it. She saw herself standing or walking in a queue, in a line, at the front of which was the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So basically, she's being told that you're following the path of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And this is Allah. Could you imagine seeing that? You're going through all this difficulty, but yet this is what you're seeing, that you're being told that you're following the path of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And imagine what that would do for your heart, what that would do for your resilience, for your faith, for your courage, for your patience, when you face any more difficulty after that. And Abu Bakr al-Mahri, he was telling us that he too used to see dreams, and these dreams would come to him and it would comfort them. Allah Azza tells us in Surah Al-Imran about the martyrs, that they will give, so the martyrs will give glad tidings to those who still haven't caught up with them yet. They're still coming, they're still alive. That don't worry about us, and don't be sad for us. We're enjoying life here with with the provisions which Allah Azza wa Jalla, and the blessings and the reward which Allah Azza wa Jalla has given us. And you hear this many times, many brothers, you hear from, I saw, so-and-so in my dream, one of the brothers who'd recently been martyred, and he's wearing white, and he's in this amazing place, and so on and so forth. And you hear these stories, and you've just lost a friend, but yet this friend, or you might have just lost a relative, and this relative's coming to you in your dream, and we don't despair. It's time for hope. It's time for hope. And I think the most important thing for us as Muslims is that this dunya is not our Jannah. And if this life was without test, if this life was without tribulation, if this life was without difficulty, then it would be Jannah. And what value would Jannah have then? If you got everything that you wanted, everything that you desired, and you never saw any difficulty, then what incentive is there for you to be good, to be righteous, to fight against the injustices for a better for a Jannah in the Akhirah that you've already got it here? But this isn't our Jannah. This is a life where we're tested. Just a final story, inshallah, for a wrap up, going over a bit, sorry, is on Monday, Brother Muhammad Rabbani from Cage, November last year, he was coming back from interviewing a brother who had been tortured whilst in the custody of the US Army. And so he was a client. And this information was given to Rabbani in confidence and was to be released at the appropriate time with the consent of the brother who had been tortured, with the consent of the client. So when Rabbani arrived at Heathrow, he was stopped on the Schedule 7. If you've travelled, you might have faced Schedule 7. That's Allah to protect you all, inshallah. He was stopped on the Schedule 7, and he was given a digital strip search, so all his telephones were taken off him, and his laptop was taken off him as well. And then he was asked for his passwords, and he says, no, I'm not going to give you my password. He says, you have to. Under Schedule 7, you are obliged to. And when you're stopped on Schedule 7, you're not stopped because they suspect you of anything. No, it's random. There's no premise at all, just random. Although the vast majority of those who are stopped are not white. The vast majority of those who are not stopped are not white, despite the fact that they make up a minority in this country. So he said to him, no, I can't, there's confidential information on that and I can't release it. Well, if you don't do that, then you'll be committing a crime. Now you'll be committing a crime. Once you do commit a crime, you have more rights. Under Schedule 7, you don't have a right to remain silent. And until recently, you didn't even have a right to have a lawyer present. As soon as you're charged, as soon as you're arrested, then you're entitled to remain silent and you're entitled to you're entitled to a lawyer anyway. So he says, no, I'm not, and he can't remain silent. He can't say, So if you refuse to answer a question truthfully, then you commit a crime. So they charged him. He said to him, look, what I'll do is, I'm willing for you to go through the information on my laptop in front of me, just a few documents that you're not allowed to touch. And he said, no, you give us the password. I'm not giving you the password. So they charged him. He went to court, he pleaded not guilty, he said, I'm going to fight this, even though according to legislation, he has broke the law, strictly speaking. So he went to court, he was in court on Monday, he pleaded not guilty, and in the trial, he was found guilty. It was always inevitable that he was going to be found guilty. He was found guilty. And it was a difficult moment. But subhanAllah, Allah Azza wa Jal protects. The judge realised that he is guilty, so she has to find him guilty. So what she gave him, she found him guilty, and she gave him a conditional discharge. So if he doesn't commit a crime, certain types of crimes for the next 12 months, then that crime is taken off his record as though it never happened. He has a clean record. But she did charge him, he had to pay a fine of £620. News of this spread. By the time he got back to the office, that £620 had already been donated by people, and it was already covered. And the people come together. Allah Azza wa Jal will make things happen for you if you stand for justice. We ask Allah Azza wa Jal that He allows us, that He gives us the courage, and that He trenches our faith strong enough in our hearts that we are able to stand up against any injustice, and that we are proud to stand up for justice, and that He protects us from any tests and tribulations. If there's been any benefit, it's been from Allah Azza wa Jal alone. Any errors or misguidance, been from myself and Shaitan.